Welcome back, Girl of Recap. Today I am going to explain an action-adventure sci-fi movie from 2016 titled The Fifth Wave. Spoilers ahead. Watch out and take care. A girl is observed walking toward a store with a rifle. Cassie enters the vacant and devastated market and collects everything she can find when she hears someone request assistance. The girl goes to the back to check. As she enters the room, a man points a gun at her. Both of them want the other to lower their weapon. He does it first and then asks her to do it as well. She tells him to move his other hand, concealed under his jacket. The man tells her that he's injured. When he moves his hand, the girl sees something and thinking it might be a weapon, she shoots him. He had a crucifix in his hand. In a flashback, we see her at a party with her friends. She and her friend talk about her infatuation. As Cassie exits the party, she sees Ben, her crush. They have a brief conversation. Cassie gets home and checks in with her dad Oliver and says goodnight to her brother Sam. The next day, Cassie has soccer practice. Her friend wants to show her something unusual on her phone, but they get interrupted by their teacher. Suddenly, Cassie notices everyone else is on their phone because something major is happening. Later, Cassie's family watches the news report about a mysterious UFO. Sam runs out of the house, and the rest follow him only to be struck by the sight of the UFO in the sky above them. During the first 10 days, the extraterrestrials made no effort to communicate. Residents of Cassie's neighborhood begin to relocate from the cities, which becomes evident the following day at her school. Suddenly, all types of devices cease functioning. The students in the classroom hear a crash outside and witness a collision on the road in front of the school. An airplane is also seen plummeting from the sky, crashing near the school and damaging some of the vehicles. This was a consequence of the electromagnetic pulse that the aliens had triggered, the first wave intended to eliminate all power. Later, Cassie's father picks her up from school. She glances at Ben and thinks it will be the last time she sees him. Some time later, Cassie and Sam are fetching water when the second wave hits like an earthquake. They flee from the falling trees as a massive wave appears behind them. Cassie manages to get Sam and herself to safety by climbing a nearby tree. They were fortunate, unlike the cities close to the ocean. Tsunamis had struck all the coastal cities and every island, obliterating them completely. After the second wave, the third wave was a modified avian flu that the aliens had released on the planet, ravaging the human population. Cassie arrives at her school, which has been converted into an additional medical facility. She spots her friend there and goes to greet her, but Cassie's mother appears and informs her that her friend is quarantined. She puts a mask on Cassie and makes her go home. Later, Cassie and the rest of her family hold a funeral for her mother, who succumbed to the flu. After some time, Cassie is packing essential items and preparing to leave. She ties Sam's shoes while their father packs the last of the supplies they'll need. The three of them leave the house and begin the journey toward a refugee camp. They arrive before nightfall and are welcomed by one of the key figures in the camp. That evening, Oliver pulls Cassie aside from the others and shows her a gun. He explains how and when she should use it. Oliver tells her that she must keep it on her at all times and conceal it from others. Cassie accepts it, expressing that she thought they were safe there, but Oliver tells her that nothing is safe anymore. Sometime later, everyone hears an unusual commotion and sees a cloud of dust approaching the camp. Suddenly, military tanks emerge from the dust and park in the center of the area, accompanied by school buses. Colonel Vosh announces that he and his men are from a military base and are there to assist them. The military personnel separate the adults from the children. The adults head to the mess hall for a briefing, while the children board the buses. Oliver receives the same information as he and his kids make their way toward the bus. Vosh interrupts his discussion with an officer and explains the reasons for the separation. He clarifies that the camp is at risk and, due to the limited transportation available, the military has chosen to prioritize getting the children to safety. Oliver decides to follow the colonel's instructions and has Cassie and Sam board the bus. He tells Cassie to look after her brother and assures them that he'll join them at the base soon. Once the children are inside, Sam realizes he's left his teddy bear behind. Since Cassie can't convince him to leave without it, she goes to retrieve it, leaving him on the bus. Cassie enters the sleeping quarters, but as soon as she finds the bear, she hears the buses departing. She rushes toward them, but fails to catch the moving bus. Meanwhile, Vosh informs the adults that the military believes the fourth wave has begun. The aliens have descended from their ships and are mingling among people, possessing the ability to inhabit human hosts and control their actions. The camp residents become anxious, and Vosh explains that while they can identify aliens in children, they still cannot detect them in adults. Everyone inquires about their children, but the colonel informs them that the children will be kept in a separate facility due to the inability to distinguish between humans and aliens. Cassie appears outside the mess hall, but Oliver signals her to stay hidden and not to come inside. Suddenly, a man antagonizes the soldiers, demanding to be let out, and chaos ensues as everyone starts shooting. Cassie flees into the woods. Shortly after, the soldiers exit the mess hall, leaving no civilians behind. Cassie returns and retrieves Sam's teddy bear. She re-enters the mess hall and discovers Oliver dead among the others. Before leaving, Cassie grabs a rifle and runs back into the woods. Later, the children arrive at the base. As they disembark from the buses, they are assigned numbers and told to wait. The first number called is Ben's, and he is taken inside the facility. An army doctor examines Ben while Sergeant Resnick questions him. He reveals that his family perished in the previous waves. Resnick tells him that he's fortunate because he has the chance to avenge their deaths. Like the other children, he will assist in the fight against the aliens. She injects a tracker into his neck, then asks how they can combat the aliens if they don't know what they are. Resnick takes him to another room to show how they can detect them. She presents a boy connected to wires and then gives Ben a special visor to see the alien. It turns out to be a parasite that infects humans and controls them. Since no extraction method works, the only way to eliminate the parasite is to kill the host. She hands Ben a switch to end the boy's life. Ben hesitates, but eventually pulls the switch. Resnick welcomes him to the fight. Meanwhile, Cassie is surviving on her own. She hides in the woods, believing she can't trust anyone. Her primary goal is to reach the base and find her little brother. After a lengthy journey, she runs out of water and spots the store where we first saw her. That night, Cassie falls asleep clutching her brother's bear. The next day, she reaches a highway cluttered with abandoned vehicles. She discovers dead bodies scattered among the cars and realizes they have been recently killed. killed. Cassie spots an alien drone and is immediately shot in the thigh. She takes cover under a truck momentarily, but remembers her brother and decides to fight her way out. Unfortunately, she loses consciousness. Meanwhile, Vosh is preparing the children for the impending battle with the aliens. He tells them that they are planning a final assault, the fifth wave. If the aliens succeed in this wave, humanity will be eradicated. The children are trained to be soldiers, learning how to fight, defend, and kill, with Vosh constantly reminding them that they are humanity's last hope. He asks if they can carry out his orders, and all of them, except Ben and Sam, affirm that they can. Cassie wakes up in a bed with her wound treated and N4 attached. Suddenly, someone ascends the stairs, and as he enters, she pretends to be asleep. The next day, Cassie removes the 4 needle, retrieves her gun from her backpack, but collapses due to her still fresh wound. Hearing the man approaching, she returns to bed. When the man enters, he tells her that he knows she's awake and introduces himself as Evan. Cassie inquires about her location, and Evan explains how he found her and brought her to safety. She asks for her gun, but Evan says he didn't see one where he discovered her. Suddenly, Evan realizes that Cassie might have torn her stitches, confirming his suspicion. He picks her up and takes her to the bathroom to tend to her wound again. While sanitizing her injury, Evan tells her that she has been there for a week. Cassie then asks how far they are from the base, and he provides the information. Later, Evan asks why she was inquiring about the base, and Cassie explains that she is searching for her brother, Sam. Evan shares that he wanted to help her because he couldn't save his own family and needed to feel more connected to humanity. At the base, the kids are playing poker, having already adapted to their new roles. They discuss a new recruit joining their squad just as Resnick arrives and introduces her as Ringer. Resnick shows Ringer to her bunk. As soon as Ringer sets down her belongings, she approaches Ben and asks if he is the leader of the squad. The girl aims to assert her dominance over Ben and the others, so she antagonizes them by belittling their squad and threatening them. Ringer asks Ben if he plays chess, but one of the other kids responds that they don't, though they can play strip poker. She punches him in the throat, declaring that she won't tolerate any demeaning or sexist remarks. Teacup appreciates her attitude. Meanwhile, Cassie is plotting her route to the base while still staying with Evan. When he's outside, she sneaks into his room and discovers a hidden compartment. Cassie finds her gun concealed there, grabs it, quickly packs her belongings, and limps out of the house. As she sets off a booby trap, Evan catches her, disarms her, and pulls her down, urging her to stay quiet. An alien vessel flies overhead, and a hunter searches for them in the woods. When they return to the house, Evan explains that he didn't mention the gun because he suspected she might be an alien. Cassie is taken aback, acknowledging that his suspicion was valid. Evan tells her that the hunter is an alien, and that it tracks people along with the alien drones. They discuss her plan to go to the base to find her brother, but Evan suggests that he might already be dead. Cassie disagrees, insisting that she will retrieve him. Evan enters her room and offers to accompany her. He promises to get her there, though he can't guarantee what they'll find at the base. Meanwhile, Ben gets to know Ringer better. She tells him that, unlike him, she had to fend for herself even before the aliens arrived, so she was prepared for the end of the world. Ringer explains that she was doing well until they pulled her onto the school bus. Ben corrects her, stating that they were rescued. Ringer retorts that they were drafted. As sparring partners, Ben challenges Ringer to a match. He tells her that if he can take her down, she will teach him and the rest of the squad how to shoot. Ringer agrees and easily brings him down. However, she becomes a bit overconfident, allowing Ben to tackle her down in return. Cassie and Evan are en route to the base. She asks him to teach her how to disarm someone in the same manner he disarmed her. Evan initially patronizes Cassie, but she calls him out, insisting that she's not trying to act tough. She simply promised her brother she would save him. Cassie makes her point, so Evan agrees to show her how to disarm someone. He first demonstrates on her, then allows her to practice a few times, and also teaches her how to subdue an attacker. She thanks him, and they resume their journey to the base. Meanwhile, Ringer is instructing her squad on how to shoot. She offers them a few tips and encourages them to try again. Resnick arrives and informs Ben that the colonel wants to see him. Ben follows her to a war room, where Vosh calls him over and briefs him on several simultaneous attacks occurring in different cities. The fifth wave of the invasion has commenced. Vosh shows Ben an upgraded, portable version of the visor they used in the medical facility, which allows them to detect aliens on the battlefield. Vosh informs him that they need to test the visors in the field and will send Ben's squad as one of 4 to do so the next day. He instructs Ben to return with his squad intact. In the woods, Cassie wakes up alone in the tent. She searches for Evan and finds him bathing in the river. When he notices her watching, she quickly runs away. Upon returning to their camp, Evan finds Cassie looking through her photos. He asks her about her best friend and recognizes Ben from a photo based on the description in her journal. Cassie is embarrassed that he has read it. Evan then spots a photo of Sam and expresses his eagerness to meet him. They pack up and leave the campsite, following the train tracks until nightfall, when they find shelter. That night, Ben and Sam lie awake and talk. Sam begins to sing the song Cassie used to sing to him before everything changed. Ben sings along with Sam, which annoys the rest of the squad, except Ringer. Meanwhile, Evan helps Cassie tend to her wound. She kisses him and thanks him. Early the next morning, the squad boards a helicopter to reach the testing site. Ringer inquires about Sam's whereabouts, and Ben tells her that Sam has food poisoning. In reality, Ben has confined the boy in the bathroom to keep him safe at the base. He has also left Sam's locket with him. The squad arrives at the location, and an officer asks Ben what their mission entails. Ben responds that they are to infiltrate the enemy's stronghold and eliminate them. The officer reminds them that the visors will light up green for aliens and instructs them to signal for extraction once their task is complete. The helicopter drops them off and departs as they enter enemy territory. Ben leads his squad forward when one of the kids spots 2 aliens ahead. Before they can engage, the aliens start shooting at them. In the ensuing chaos, they find themselves cornered and take cover in an alley. Ben instructs them to run and seek refuge in a nearby bus. Ben and Ringer are the last ones in, so Ben closes the doors. They come under heavy enemy fire and one of their squad members gets shot. Ringer realizes they can't stay put and starts acting as a distraction to draw the enemy's attention away from the others, allowing them to reach another alley. Ben tells the remaining squad members to prepare to run on his signal. Ringer yells for them to go, and as they escape, the bus she rigged explodes behind them. The squad finds refuge in an abandoned mall. After clearing the area, they settle in. Ringer joins them and immediately voices her doubts about the aliens, questioning how they can cause earthquakes yet be threatened by a group of children. She decides to escape from the army and takes out her tracker. As soon as she does, the visors read her as an alien, causing panic among the squad. They are unsure of how to handle the situation until Ben realizes the issue. He removes his own tracker, and the others see him as an alien too. Ben reassures them that he's not an alien, and neither were the ones who were shooting at them earlier. Resnick and Vosh deceive them. Ben reveals that green actually signifies human, and the visors and trackers were fake. The real test was to observe their reactions to the situation. When the others question his reasoning, Ben explains that the army is actually composed of aliens, manipulating the children to do their bidding and eliminate the remaining survivors. Ben informs them that they're not combating the fifth wave. They are the fifth wave. Teacup asks what their next move should be, and Ben instructs everyone to remove their trackers. He plans to be the only one returning to the base to rescue Sam, and tells Ringer to shoot him to make it look authentic. Meanwhile, hunters discover Evan and Cassie. Evan exits the truck, and one of the hunters informs him that he's outside his drone sector before opening fire. Cassie wakes up to find Evan struggling with two men. He tells her to run. Before she escapes, Cassie pulls out the gun and searches for ammunition. She notices something unusual, and then sees Evan collapsing next to the truck. One of the men pursues Cassie, and she manages to escape momentarily before he grabs her outside the truck. Cassie fires the gun, but Evan comes to her rescue. With remarkable strength, he battles the man and ultimately kills him. Sensing something is wrong, Cassie threatens Evan with her gun. Evan reveals that he is both human and alien, a sleeper agent created long before the invasion began. When the alien ship arrived in orbit, his alien side awakened. Cassie asks if he killed his family, but Evan explains that it was the disease, not him. He confesses that, despite his kind's inability to believe in love, he fell for her when he saw her and reclaimed his human side. Previously, Ben had been tracking Cassie, and when another hunter shot her, he intervened to save her. He now believes in love because of her. Cassie prepares to shoot Evan, but he discloses the truth about the army. She walks away, and Evan warns her that she shouldn't be armed when she arrives, as they will kill her. Cassie warns Evan that she will kill him if he follows her. Meanwhile, Ben arrives at the base via helicopter. Later, Cassie pretends to collapse in front of a school bus, and they take her inside. Her number is called, and she receives the same treatment from Resnick as before. While Resnick is showing Cassie the alien, she strikes Resnick over the head. A struggle ensues, but Cassie ultimately kills Resnick and removes her tracker. She dons Resnick's clothes and begins searching the base for her brother. Meanwhile, Ben is in a briefing with Colonel Vosh, who is aware of Ben's intentions. Vosh questions Ben about his knowledge, and Ben admits he understands what they are. He then realizes they intend to kill him. Vosh explains that humans did nothing to deserve their fate other than occupying a space the aliens needed, but then reveals a harsh truth about humans, that humanity has been inflicting similar cruelties on others for centuries. At that moment, an officer bursts in with news that Resnick has been killed, along with 3 guards at the west gate. An explosion rocks the base. Vosh orders the child army to be deployed and instructs his officers to identify the attackers. Ben fights off and kills the soldier holding him captive and removes his tracker. Meanwhile, Cassie navigates through the hallways as another explosion occurs. Vosh orders the deployment of drones to pinpoint the attackers. Cassie runs into Ben and quickly disarms him. Recognizing each other, she tells him she's searching for Sam. Ben explains that the army is actually composed of aliens and that they are preparing to send her brother into battle. He emphasizes that they need to find Sam quickly or she might never see him again. Cassie trusts Ben, and together they set off to locate her brother. They are stopped by 2 soldiers, but Evan arrives and neutralizes them. He reveals that he planted the bombs, and once the last plane carrying the children departs, he plans to destroy the base permanently. Evan apologizes for deceiving Cassie, explaining that he chose his human side because of her. Ben and Cassie hurry to find Sam before Evan detonates the base. They reach the transport lines and discover all the children are there. They maneuver through the lines to locate Sam, and Cassie finally finds him and reaches him. Ben guides them to an escape door. Once reunited, Cassie hands Sam his teddy bear. Ben removes his tracker, and they escape. At the same time, Vosh is overseeing the base evacuation. He spots Ben and the others fleeing, boards a helicopter, and attempts to pursue them but fails to catch them before the base detonates. Ringer and the rest of Ben's squad arrive in an army truck and rescue them. Cassie watches the base explode and reflects on Evan. Later, the squad sets up camp, resting and eating. Ben speaks with Cassie and asks what their next move should be. Cassie responds that they need to rescue the other children, though she's still uncertain about how to accomplish that. Ben suggests they focus on that issue the next day. They join the rest of the squad and hold on to the hope of a better future.